Hello and welcome from the California Our Lady's Army of Advocates Conference. My name is Father Albert, and I will be answering some of your questions. In the first Saturday devotions, we offer the Holy Communion, the Confession, the 5-Decade Rosary, and the Meditation as acts of reparation for sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Are we making reparation to God for these sins, or directly to Mary? Well, it's a very good question. In order to answer it, I'm going to simply read some texts from the writings of Sister Lucy herself, because the answer is a little surprising, because it would seem that we would make reparation for sin directly to our Lord himself. But according to Sister Lucy, well, according to Our Lady and our Lord himself, this devotion is to make reparation to Our Lady herself, to her Immaculate Heart. We said that already in the prayer that the angel taught the children, and us through the children, to say when we make sacrifices. Sacrifice yourselves for sinners, and say often, especially each time you make a sacrifice, O Jesus, it is for love of thee, for the conversion of sinners, and in reparation for the sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So the reparation is made for these sins against her Immaculate Heart. In her apparition to Sister Lucy at Pontevedra, December 10th, 1925, where Our Lady showed Sister Lucy her heart encircled with thorns, the child Jesus said to her, "Have compassion on the heart of the Most Holy Mother encircled by thorns, which ungrateful men pierce her with at every moment, while there is no one to make an act of reparation in order to remove them." So what this act of reparation does, it removes the thorn in the heart of Our Lady. So it makes reparation to her. It takes away this offense against her. And in this same apparition, Our Lady herself went on to explain to Sister Lucy, "See, my daughter, my heart encircled with thorns that ungrateful men pierce me with at every moment by their blasphemies and their ingratitudes." You see, it's the heart of Mary that is being offended. That's the object of this devotion. You at least try to console me and say to all those who, during 5 months, the first Saturday, go to confession, receive Holy Communion, say a rosary, and keep me company during 15 minutes while meditating on the 15 mysteries of the rosary, in spirit of reparation, I promise to assist them at the hour of death with all the graces necessary for the salvation of their soul. Later, Sister Lucy was tormented by the little effect of her initiatives to fulfill the wishes of Our Lady, when on February 15th, 1926, that is some weeks after this apparition at Pontevedra, the child Jesus appeared to her. And some days later, she reported this in a letter to her confessor. February 15th, I was very occupied with my work, and I wasn't thinking nearly at all about that. That is, about what Our Lady had said to her. I was going to empty the garbage outside of the garden at the same place some months previously. I had met a child there. This February 15th, I found a child who seemed to me to be the same one, and I asked him, "Have you asked the child Jesus from our Heavenly Mother, as I told you to do?" The child turned towards me and said, "And you, have you revealed to the world what your Heavenly Mother asked you to do?" And he said that he was transformed into a shining, resplendent child. Recognizing then that it was Jesus, I said to him, "My Jesus, my confessor said in his letter that this devotion isn't lacking in the world, because there are already many souls who receive you every first Saturday in honor of Our Lady and the 15 mysteries of the Rosary. It is true, my daughter, that many begin, but few go right to the end, and those that persevere do so in order to receive the graces that are promised. The souls who do the first 5 Saturdays with fervor and with the intention of making reparation to the heart of your Heavenly Mother are more pleasing to me than those who do 15 tepid and indifferent." So you see, that's explicit. As our Lord himself said to Sister Lucy, what is required is the intention of making reparation to the heart of Our Lady that's offended by these blasphemies and ingratitudes. Sister Lucy goes on, saying, many souls have difficulty going to confession on Saturday. Could you permit that they go to confession within 8 days? And our Lord responds, yes, it can be done even later, as long as the souls are in a state of grace on the first Saturday when they receive me, and in this later confession, they have the intention of making reparation to the Holy Heart of Mary. Again, he repeats it. That's the intention we do have, and that's the object of the reparation. We make reparation to the Holy Heart of Mary. That's the specific object of this devotion. And you see how much our Lord wants us to do that. He attaches this wonderful promise to these first 5 Saturday devotions. But he insists that it be done with that intention. So this is a very important question. I'm glad someone asked that. It's to make reparation to the Holy Heart of Mary. In the letter to Monsignor da Silva, the bishop, in October 1928, in which Sister Lucy asked him to approve the devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, she writes, the good God in his infinite mercy complains that he can no longer endure the offenses committed against the Immaculate Conception of the Most Holy Virgin. See, it's God who wants this reparation. It's Our Lady who's offended, but he's offended by her being offended, and he wants reparation to be made. He says that because of this sin, a great number of souls fall into hell, and he promises to save them in the measure that be practiced the following devotion, with the intention of making reparation to the Immaculate Heart of our Holy Mother. So it's repeated. It's very clear. I come then, most excellent, most reverend Lord, with the approval of my confessor and my Reverend Mother Superior, and in order to satisfy the desires of our Lord, to ask humbly your most reverend excellency to accept and to give his approval. Then, in the apparition, the famous apparition on June 13th, 1929, at Tuy, Sister Lucy describes the apparition. Under the right arm of the cross was Our Lady with her Immaculate Heart in her hand, with a crown of thorns and flames. Then Our Lady said to me, the souls that the justice of God condemns for the sins committed against me are so numerous that I come to ask reparation. Sacrifice yourself with this intention and pray. So it's for the sins committed against me. And that's for that we have to make reparation. Then at Tuy, again, June 29th, 1930, she says, it seems to me that the good God at the bottom of my heart is acting upon me so that I ask the Holy Father the approval of the devotion of reparation that God himself and the Most Holy Virgin deigned to ask for in 1925, in order to give by means of this little devotion the grace of pardon to souls who have had the misfortune to offend the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Again, it's the same thing. It's these offenses against her heart that must be repaired. The Most Holy Virgin promises to souls who seek to make reparation to her in this way, to assist them at the hour of death with all the graces necessary so that they might be saved. So, it's very clear. We seek to make reparation to her in this way. So that's the explicit answer again to your question. And finally, we can also quote the response that she gave to a series of questions of Father Gonçalves in June 1930, and in particular with regard of the question, why 5 Saturdays and not 9 or 7 in honor of the sorrows of Our Lady, was the question that he asked. And Sister Lucy responded, being in the chapel with our Lord, part of the night of the 29th to the 30th of this month of May 1930, here's what was revealed to me. She quotes our Lord. My daughter, the reason is simple. Why 5 Saturdays? And then he gives a list of 5 ways in which Our Lady is offended. There are 5 kinds of offenses and blasphemies made against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And so there's 5 Saturdays to repair to each of these different sorts of offenses and blasphemies against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And so he makes the list, which you know already. And he concludes, "There then, my daughter, is the reason why the Immaculate Heart of Mary inspired me to ask for this little reparation, and in consideration of it, to move my mercy to pardon souls who have had the misfortune to offend her." To offend her. "As for you, seek without ceasing by your prayers and sacrifices to move my mercy with regard to these poor souls." And indeed, Our Lady herself had said to Sister Lucy, it's in the same text in response to Father Gonsalves, "To souls who seek to make reparation to me in this way, I promise to assist them at the hour of their death with all the graces necessary for salvation." Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.